I built the ultimate business intelligence dashboard that can do anything a business owner would want. From displaying real-time data about the business, to researching competitors, to creating brand new products and sending emails or messages to your potential customers with custom offers. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to build this app step by step by using N8N and YouWare AI, which is an AI app builder that is by far the best one on the market because it has this feature that no other AI no-code builder has. So let's get started. So the first thing you have to do is go over to YouWare.com. I will have a link for it in the description below. And as you can see, it looks like any other AI no-code builder at first. But if you actually scroll down here, you can see a lot of different projects that actually the YouWare community made. You can see different AI apps they made, different games they actually created by using YouWare, which I think is a very impressive feature that honestly deserves a separate video. You can see productivity tools, education, and a lot of other functions. Once you create an app, you can choose to publish it to the community, making it significantly easier for you to actually improve the app because you're actually getting real people's opinion on your product without you actually having to launch it and pay to get users, which I think is a very amazing feature that YouWare has. But this isn't the reason I'm making this video, guys. The actual reason is this button over here, which if I actually click it, you can see that by using YouWare, we also have access to all of these MCP tools, and that is the secret feature I spoke about on the intro. And what that actually means, guys, is we can basically integrate all of these different features over here. As you can see, there are a lot within the app that we're going to build within YouWare, which actually makes it super handy and differentiates it from all of the other AI no-code builders. We can use Figma to copy a design we made there and bring it over to YouWare. We can also use Supabase to actually have a real backend database for our app. But we can also use all of these other MCP tools that other no-code builders don't have, because most no-code builders actually do have Figma and Supabase, but they don't have all of the other tools, as you can see over here, which are actually super useful. You can connect it to Notion and basically get all the data you have from inside Notion over to your app that you're going to build without you having to use an app like N8N, for example, which you can do it within N8N, but it actually requires way more work and it's actually significantly more complicated than just doing it within YouWare. And I will show you exactly how you can do it in a bit. But as you can see, we have YouTube over here, we have GitHub, we have Firecrawl, which actually means you can use Firecrawl to crawl different websites and get the results displayed inside the app interface you're going to build within YouWare. You can also use Flux AI to generate images within the app you build within YouWare. And I think you get the point. That's why YouWare is so powerful, because it does have access to all of these MCP tools within its own interface, and we don't need to build the whole backend of our app in an app like N8N. While we still can do it, it actually requires way more time, way more technical skills than us simply typing a simple prompt and basically everything be done for us. So let me actually show you how we can use some of these MCP tools in an actual practical real world app that we're going to build, which is actually going to be an intelligent business dashboard, which will basically have multiple functions that any business owner would actually want and would make their life 100 times easier. So let's actually do that. But now what you can do is simply come over here and type in a prompt explaining what you want to build. So for example, I can come over here and say, I want to create a business analytics dashboard with a really clean, modern look. Make the theme dark, something sleek and professional, but still stylish. The layout should feel spacious and easy to scan at a glance. Use a sidebar on the left navigation menu and at the top bar for filtering or notifications. Inside the main area, I want a grid layout with cards for different types of data like KPIs, charts, graphs, etc, etc. Basically telling it that I will give it lots of different types of data so it can actually display them inside there. And then I said, basically this should look like a smart modern dashboard where I will later add different types of analytics. Just set up the structure and styling for now. And you can simply come over here and click on enter and it will start building the app. And I actually wanted to show you this, and that is why YouWare is so powerful. You can just simply come over here and simply enable the Figma function, which all you have to do is simply come over here and click on this plus icon, and it basically tells you how you can connect your Figma account, import any design you have over to YouWare, so you basically don't have to build the actual layout of your app, because you will simply import it from Figma. And it has very detailed documentation that if you just follow, is super simple to actually connect your Figma account. And let me actually show you how you can do it. So the first thing, as you can see over here, it tells us to go over to our Figma account and simply select on settings over here. So I'm over in my Figma account, and all I have to do is click on my profile, then go over here to settings. Then I need to come over here to security, and then over here I have already generated the token, but if you haven't, you simply come over here and click on generate new token. You simply come over here, you give it a name. Let me name it actually YouWare for this example, and then we actually need to come over here and give it access to all of this content. So you can actually import the design, and then simply come over here and click on generate token. This will give us a token. I will come over here, copy it, and then all I need to do is come back to YouWare and simply paste it over here and click on save, and that's basically all I had to do, and I have successfully connected my Figma account over to YouWare, so I can basically import any design I have to Figma over to YouWare. And I want to see what Figma can do when designing the whole app completely by itself. I will not actually use the Figma function. I'll simply delete it, and I will simply come over here and run my prompt to see what results I'm going to get. So I will simply come over here and click on enter. And now you can see that YouWare has started generating our app for us. We have to wait a little bit till it's done. And boom guys, it just finished generating the app. And as you can see, this honestly looks amazing if I'm gonna be honest. It's very nice and modern, and as you can see over here, it has all of these functions, and it has these nice animations as well. When I hover over each section, you can see that it has this nice pop-up animation. And over here we have the tabs that don't actually work right now, which we will obviously need to prompt YouWare to fix that. But as you can see, for an app that was created with just one prompt, and without any visual reference, I just let YouWare made it completely by itself. It honestly looks pretty amazing. This honestly looks like a modern app that was made by an actual app designer, and we just created it with one simple prompt. So now guys, let's actually build the functionality of this app. Some of the functions we're going to build within N8N, and some of the functions we're going to build within YouWare, and you will see why in a bit. So the first function we want to actually have in our app is obviously we want to get the business's data and bring it over in the app so it can actually be displayed over here. So how are we gonna do that? And let's say we have multiple sheets that have different data inside them with basically different products that we're selling and different services that we're offering. And over here we also have our clientele with the customer name, the customer's email, and the customer's phone number. So let's say we actually want to bring in this data inside YouWare so we can actually display it in our business dashboard. Well, we cannot actually do that natively within YouWare because there simply doesn't exist a tool over here that says Google Sheets. So for this specific function, we actually will have to use N8N so we can get the data and send it back over here via webhook. So I will basically show you how you can connect YouWare to N8N, but for some functions we're going to make in the future, you will see how the same functions that would take us like 20 minutes to build within N8N can basically be built in YouWare in literally a click of a button, and you will see exactly what I mean for the next function we're going to build. But let's first actually bring in the data inside the YouWare interface over here so we can actually display it. So how are we gonna do that, guys? So the first thing we have to do is to come over to N8N and add in a first step. So the first step of our automation will actually be a scheduled trigger node, guys. And why we're adding a scheduled trigger node is because we want the data that we're going to send back over to YouWare to be up to date. And that's why what we're basically going to do is set up our scheduled trigger node over here to basically run, let's say, every 3 minutes, for example. So the automation that we're actually going to build to get the data from the Google Sheets and send it back into our interface to be displayed will run every 3 minutes, so the information will be up to date. So if we go over in a Google Sheets and we change something, then this schedule trigger will run every 3 minutes, so we'll basically catch the change and send in the new data over there to be displayed. That's why we're adding a schedule trigger node. Now I know a lot of you might say, but how are we actually going to connect it if we don't actually have a webhook? And guys, we will also need a webhook, but we're not actually going to use the webhook to trigger the automation. We're going to use the schedule trigger node to do that. We will just use the webhook to basically come over here and get this link so we can actually connect it to YouWare. And I think you will see what I mean in a bit once I actually finish building the automation. So the next thing we actually have to do is to actually search for Google Sheets. And what we will do with Google Sheets, guys, is we'll basically come over here and select get rows, because what we actually want to do is to actually retrieve the data from Google Sheets. So the first thing you have to do is to obviously select your Google credentials. I will select mine over here. Then on resource we will leave it on sheet within document. Operations, we'll leave it on get rows. This is super important since that's what we actually want to do. We want to get rows. And then over here from list, we actually need to select the specific Google Sheet we actually want to get data from. Since the Google Sheet I showed you before is named business data, as you can see it is over here, so I'll simply select it. And then over here we need to select the sheet number. Since we have 3 sheet numbers, for this one I will select sheet number 1. And then what we have to do, guys, is basically close this off. I will come over here, I will simply copy this, come over here, paste it over here again, connect it, and this time I will open this up. I will leave all the same parameters, but this time I will change the sheet from sheet 1 to sheet 2. And what we have to do, guys, is basically do exactly the same with Google Sheet number 3. So we actually get the data from all 3 Google Sheets simultaneously. So that's why we're doing that. So if I come over here and click on execute workflow from trigger and I simply click on execute, you will see that this workflow is actually running and is getting the data from all of our Google Sheets. And boom, it just finished executing. So if I come over here and open this up, we can see that we have all the data from all the different Google Sheets over here. We have it for sheet 1, sheet 2, and over here for sheet 3. So now that we have all of this data inside N8N, we actually need to return it back in a YouWare interface. So how we're going to do that is we have to come over here and select and respond to webhook node. And the reason we're using that is so we can basically return all the data we're going to get over here over in our YouWare interface. So I'll simply come over here and change this from first incoming item to all incoming items. So basically every item that comes in here gets returned over to YouWare. And then since in order for us to actually be able to use the respond to webhook node, we actually do need a webhook node. That is the reason I actually added this at the start. All we have to do is to simply come over here and connect it just so we can return it. So basically this webhook doesn't have any actual function. Its only function is to basically enable us to use the respond to webhook node in order for us to be able to send the data back into YouWare. But before we actually are able to do that, what we have to do is come over here to the webhook and we need to change first of all the HTTP method from get to post, since that is the request we're going to send over to YouWare to send the data back to it. And then over here on the respond, we need to change this from immediately to using respond to webhook node. Since if we don't actually change this, the respond to webhook node cannot be activated and will not be able to send data back into YouWare. So now that we did that, all we have to do is to simply come over here and run this. And boom, it just finished executing. So if I come over here and open this up, we can see that we have in fact sent all the data back in our YouWare interface. But if I come over to YouWare, I cannot actually see this data being displayed over here. And why is that? It's not YouWare's fault and it's not N8N's fault either. We just need to give YouWare the webhook URL and basically tell it that it needs to expect data to come in so it actually is able to display it. So what we have to do right now is come back over to N8N, simply click off here, go over here in the webhook, open this up and make sure we come over here and we click on this link so we actually copy it. And then we need to come back over to YouWare and say, make sure you actually expect to receive data from this webhook URL and you actually display it inside this interface. What I will do, guys, simply paste in the webhook URL I just copied, and I will also say, make sure you display the specific data I'm sending back to you via this webhook. And I will simply come over here and click on enter. And the reason I specify that, guys, is we don't actually have random things that we haven't actually sent back. We only have the data and analytics about this specific data inside our interface over here. So now we simply need to wait while YouWare is actually embedding this webhook URL inside our app. So I will be back with you once it is done. And boom, it just finished. But as you can see, we don't have the data inside here, and that is because we actually need to go over to N8N and execute the workflow one more time in order for us to actually be able to send the data back over here. So I will simply come back over to N8N, I will simply come over here and click on execute workflow, and boom, it just finished executing. And if I come back over to YouWare, guys, you can see that it actually did take in the data and it's actually displaying it over here in all of this nice section. As you can see, this is exactly the data we had inside the Google Sheets over here. And look how nice it is actually being displayed over here. We also have product analysis, lost stock items, our bestseller item, which is wireless mouse, our profit margins, which are actually 32.4%. And over here we have nice pie charts. As you can see, over here we have more data that we had inside the Google Sheet. This is from the other Google Sheet. Over here we can see all the costs, all the prices, all the margins. And look how well this is actually displayed, guys. And over here again we have some insights and we can see more graphs and more pie charts, which actually display our real data that we had inside our Google Sheets. Over here we also have our invoices, and you can see how just this function of the app is actually amazing. And look, it just keeps on going and going. Like, we literally can come over here, select on inventory, and we can see insights about our inventory. And over here we have our inventory health report. Over here we have customer insights report, more charts. Like you can see how this app actually would be so valuable to a business owner, and we haven't even started yet. That is the craziest part. So now the next function that I want to add is a competitor intelligence report section, which what this section will basically do, guys, is we will basically be able to input the industry that we're in, or even input a specific competitor we have, and this will basically go look up the competitors' websites, basically scrape the whole thing, then it will bring all this information in our dashboard, and then our dashboard will actually analyze this information and give us basically a report of what our competitor is doing well, what products he's selling well, what products he's not selling well, etc, and all of these things. And guys, the best part is we will actually be able to do this function solely within YouWare. Why? Because if we come over here and we select on the MCP tools, YouWare has Firecrawl integrated over here, which means that we are actually able to scrape all of this data and then return it back in our business intelligence dashboard over here to be analyzed all within YouWare, and we will not have to build this function in N8N. And guys, you might say, but we could build this in N8N, it's not that big of a deal. Well, actually I have done a similar video on my channel in which I actually crawled websites with Firecrawl and then got an insights from them and returned them in a front-end interface I made, which is this one over here. And as you can see, it is actually 26 minutes long, and that is just me explaining how I built the thing. Me actually building the automation did take me more time than that, and we can literally save 26 minutes of our life by simply coming over here to YouWare, simply clicking on the plus icon on Firecrawl, and we don't even need to set up any credentials. The credentials are set up automatically and we just get charged based on our YouWare credits, so we basically don't need to do anything else. All we have to do is to basically prompt the AI over here to create a brand new section that does exactly what I just described, and it will literally do it without us having to build a whole automation in N8N, which would basically take us an hour to actually build and troubleshoot. So all I will do is I will simply come over here and say I want to create a brand new section in this business intelligence app that is basically a competitor intelligence report section. This actually uses Firecrawl to scrape my competitors' websites, which I will either tell you the industry that my competitor is in or my specific competitor's name, so Firecrawl can go and scrape their website. And then what it will actually do, guys, is the app will receive the data and create an analytical report of the things that my competitor does well, the things he doesn't do well, what products he seems to be selling, etc. And before I come over here and click on enter, what I actually want to do is come over here in the MCP tools, I will come over here and click on add, and I will also make sure I come over here and add in the AI app as well, because if I actually add this, you can see I basically get access to all of these models over here, which I can actually choose from to embed in my app, so I can actually do this intelligence report analysis. I will actually select the OpenAI GPT-4o model. I'll simply come over here and copy it, and what I will do, guys, is I simply come and click off of here and I will say make sure you use this model, and I will paste in the model and I will say for the analysis. And now all I have to do is to come over here and click on enter, and you can see, guys, how a feature that would take us like 1 hour plus to build in N8N will be basically built for us automatically just by us typing a simple prompt and actually using these MCP tools that are inside YouWare. And boom, guys, YouWare just finished making the changes. And as you can see over here, we have these 3 sections over here, which the first one is analyze the website, in which we can input a specific website of our competitor over here. Simply click on analyze competitor and it will give us an analysis. Over here we have an industry analysis, which will basically can input our industry and then select over here the geographic market, which is exactly what I'm going to do right now to actually test if this actually works. So let's say our industry is e-commerce electronics, since that is the data that we had inside our Google Sheet. Then over here in the geographic market, I will select United States. As you can see, we do need to fix the way this looks. We will do this in another prompt. For now, I will simply select United States and I will come over here and click. And as you can see, our app has started analyzing our competitors. So let's see how long this will actually take. And boom, it just finished creating the report. And if we scroll all the way down here, we can actually see the website is actually analyzed. Over here, some conclusions we got. Over here, we also have a SWOT analysis and some strategic recommendations based on the data we just scraped with Firecrawl scroll, which if we actually were to do this within N8N, again would actually take us a lot of time. We can obviously prove this. We can come over here and tell it to give us graphs, to give us charts, etc., to display the strategic recommendations just so we could make it more visually appealing. But now I actually want to show you how you can add in another super useful feature that again any business owner will want to have inside an app, which is none other than the product generator. And what do I mean by that? Is basically create a section in which we can either tell the AI to basically create us a brand new product, or we can give a description about the product and it can give us images with this specific product so we can see how it would visually look, and maybe even use those images as a prototype or even in an ad campaign if we actually needed to. So that is exactly what I'm going to do right now. So to simply make that happen, all we have to do is to come over here in the MCP tools, and I will click on add another MCP tool, and this time, so we can actually generate these images, what we actually need to do is come over here and add in the Flax AI MCP tool. What this basically will allow us to do, guys, is basically generate images within our app, which is actually a super useful feature. And again, if we had to do all of that within N8N and then send back the image, like, it would be honestly a hassle. It would take us so much time, but we can actually do that simply by enabling the Flax AI MCP tool. So now all we have to do is to simply click off here and basically describe the new feature that we want to build. So I'll simply come over here and say I want to create a new feature now, which is going to be the generate product. These features should have two sections, either one section in which I click on generate a product and the AI gives me a recommendation about the product in my specific niche, so I only should have to input my niche in there, and another section in which I describe the product and it basically generates a brand new image with Flax AI. So now after I wrote this description, and for those that are asking, I'm actually using Whisperflow to basically speak and not have to type the words manually, I will simply come over here and click on enter, and now we simply need to wait while YouWare actually builds this brand new section for us. And while it is actually building that, since I was going to use YouWare, I actually messaged them and they kindly agreed to sponsor this video. So I left a link for them in the description below and in the pinned comment, so you can actually go and check them out. And they also do have a free plan, so you basically lose nothing by actually going and checking out YouWare and trying it out for yourself to see if you actually prefer it than other no-code AI builders. So make sure you click on the link in the description and you go and check them out. And remember, if you do that, it actually really does help the channel. And boom, we just finished creating the product generator, and as you can see over here, we first have the product idea section in which I basically can just put my niche. So if I say, for example, electronics, and I'll come over here and click on generate product ideas, you can see it is generating ideas right now, and boom, it generated us this section over here, which basically has the product idea, which is Mood Sync Smart Light Hub, has a brief description of it, the target audience, some key features of it, the estimated price, the market potential, and the development complexity, which is honestly better than I actually thought it would be. Like, it really goes in depth over here, and it also has more ideas, like for example this ChargeMate AirPod, for example. It basically has the exact same sections over here, and as you can see, it generated like 5 ideas, which are actually pretty detailed, and they actually seem to be pretty good ideas as well, which is honestly very impressive. And now if we actually scroll down here, we also have the product visualizer section, which we can basically describe a product and it will generate images for it with the Flax AI MCP tool that we just integrated. So let's actually do that. I'll simply come over here and take in a product that the idea generator just created. I'll simply copy it, I'll simply come over here, paste this in, and I will come and click on generate product image, and now it's actually creating the image for this specific product. And boom, guys, it just finished creating the image over here. And as you can see, I inputted sleep headband AI driven sleeper tracker, and this is what it gave me. And it also got incorrect the name that I gave to the product, which is honestly amazing. And over here we have a visual description as well, and we also have an enhanced prompt section. So we have successfully managed to create these features as well. And now another very useful feature we could create is, let's say we're actually going to launch this product and we actually wanted to send a message to the customers that we already have that we are about to launch this specific product. So we could either send them an email message or an SMS, and I will show you how you can do both. But since if we come over here in the MCP tools and we click on plus, there isn't any Gmail function or any SMS function over here. For that, we will actually have to use N8N. So to do that, we have to come over to N8N, and I will simply come over here and click on the plus icon, and I will again search for a webhook node. And I'm searching for another webhook node because this is simply a different function, so we'll send the information about either the Gmail or the SMS to a different webhook that we're going to configure right now. So to do that, I will simply come over here and change this from get to post again, and I will simply come over here and copy this URL, and I will simply come back over to YouWare and come over here and say, hey, now I want you to create a brand new function for this app, which is going to be the inform customer function, in which I will be able to select whether I want to send a message to one of my clients, and if I want to send a message only to one, I will simply need to input his name, and then it will send this data with a brand new product description that we just generated over to this webhook URL. And what I did over here, guys, is I just basically pasted the webhook URL I just copied, and then I also said I will take care of all the other functions within N8N. YouWare actually knows it doesn't try to do any of the backend functions, and I will simply come over here and click on enter, and I will simply need to wait till it is actually done. And boom, it just finished making the changes. And if I come over here, you can see there is a brand new section which is called inform customers, and if I click it, guys, this opens up this brand new tab where we actually have the option to select to either send in a message to all of our customers or to an individual customer, which for this example I will just do an individual customer. Let's say I want to send a message to John Smith, which is a customer I have inside my Google Sheet over here. So all I have to do is I simply have to come over here, simply copy the name, come back over to YouWare, simply paste it in, and over here I need to describe what the product or service is that I'm going to promote. But I don't actually see a button in which I can actually differentiate whether we want to send an email or an SMS. So ideally we would have that. So let me actually come over here and tell YouWare to actually create this function as well. So I said, hey, I also want you to add two buttons, one for sending emails and one for sending SMS messages, so I can actually differentiate them when you send data back over to the webhook. And I will simply come over here and click on enter, and now YouWare will make this small change and we will actually test to see if this actually works. And guys, like sometimes you will not get 100% the result that you actually want. You will need to make some minor tweaks to make it exactly as you envision it. Just like this example over here. It just doesn't have the two buttons that I actually needed. So what did I do? I simply came over here and told it to create these two buttons, and that is exactly what it's going to do. And boom, guys, as you can see, successfully made the change. We have the generate and send an email, and we have the generate and send SMS, which is exactly what we wanted. So all I will do now is I will again come over here and select individual customer. I will paste in John Smith, and over here on the product or service I will say head smartband to help you sleep. But before I come over here and click on generate and send email, what I have to do, so if we actually come back over in our N8N interface, we can see all the data that we received over from the webhook, and over here we can actually see the customer name and the product description and the send parameter, so basically where we actually want to send this data. Now I made sure I pin this data so I don't actually lose it. I have to rerun this because I actually lost this data once, guys, believe it or not. And then what we have to do is to simply come and click off here, and now the next step we actually have to do, guys, is add in an AI agent. And the reason we're adding in an AI agent is because this AI agent will basically do all of the functions. It will look up inside the Google Sheet we have in order for it to find the information of that specific person we want to send that specific message to, and then it will use either the Gmail node or an SMS node in order for it to be able to send this message. And I will show you exactly how you can configure those right now. But the first thing we actually have to do is to come over here and make sure we actually add in an LLM. I will select ChatGPT, for example. You can obviously select any LLM model you want. And now we actually need to give our AI agent access to the Google Sheet in which we have all of our clients' information. So to do that, we simply have to come over here and click on the plus icon and simply search for Google Sheets and simply select it. First of all, we need to select our Google credentials, so I will select mine. Then over here on the tool description, we will leave it on set automatically. Research, we leave it on sheet within document. Operations, we leave it on get rows. And over here on the documents, we actually need to select the specific Google Sheet we have all this information inside. I will select business data because this is the name of the sheet, I have all the information. And then over here on the sheet number, since we actually have multiple sheets over here, I will simply fill this in with AI. So the AI will basically take a look at all of them and find out which one does it actually need to send a message to this specific person over here. And what I will also do is I will come over here and rename this node to get data for client. since the AI agent actually uses the name of each specific node to see whether it should call it or not. That's why I gave it this message, so it basically describes the function we want the AI agent to perform in this node. And now we'll simply come and click off of this node since we have finished configuring this. And now what we actually have to do is to add in two ways we can actually send a message to that specific person, which is Gmail and an SMS. And I'll show you how you can do both. So the first thing we have to add is a Gmail node. So come over here and click on Gmail. And how we're going to configure this, guys, is again we need to select our Google credentials. I will select mine over here. We will leave this on set automatically. On resource, we will leave this on message, since that's what we actually want to do. And on operation, we will leave this on send, since we actually want to send the message. And then over here to tool, we don't actually have the email address of that specific person because it is inside the Google Sheet. So I will simply come over here and fill this in with AI. And I will basically give a description inside my AI agent, telling him to retrieve the email of that specific person and then input it over here to this field. Then over here to subject, I will also fill this in with AI. Over here in the email type, I will change this from HTML to text, since we don't actually want to send any images with a Gmail. We just want to send simple text message. And over here in the message, again, since we will actually let the AI agent generate this message, I will fill this in with AI as well. And we're done configuring this node. Now all we have to do is to simply come and click off here. And now we also need to configure the node which will allow us to send an SMS to that person. Because remember, we have two options. We either can send him a Gmail or an SMS. So how are we gonna do that? Well, it's pretty simple. I will simply come over here, I click on the plus icon, and I will search for Twilio, which is the tool that will actually enable us to send SMS messages. Now the first thing you have to do is to come over here and select your Twilio credentials. Now if you don't know how you can create those, I have a video in which I go over it in depth. I will leave it somewhere around here so you can go watch it and create your credentials. Then over here, we will leave all of this exactly as they are. Then over here to from, we basically need to input our number. I will input my own. And then over here to to, again, we don't have that person's number. So what we need to do is to come over here and fill this in with AI, since the AI will actually retrieve the information from inside the Google Sheet, which has that specific person's number, and it will fill this in so you can actually send him the SMS message. Then over here, we also have the option to send him a standard SMS message or a message to WhatsApp. I will actually turn WhatsApp on, since people tend to open the WhatsApp way more than they open the usual SMS messages, believe it or not, guys. Then over here in the message, I will again fill this in with AI. And now that we have configured this tool as well, all we have to do is to come over here to our AI agent and explain to it exactly what we wanted to do. So I will simply come and open this app, and I will change it from connect to chat trigger node to define below, since we are not actually using a chat trigger node. And over here we need to give it a prompt basically explaining exactly what we wanted to do. So let me actually open this up so you can better look at it, and I will say, look up the client's information in the connected Google Sheet using the provided customer name. And what I will do, guys, is I will come over here to the webhook where I have the customer's name, and I will simply take this and drag and drop this over here. And then I said, and get all of their details. So the AI agent knows to actually retrieve all the information about this client. And then I said, based on this, and then I will simply come over here, taking the send parameter, which basically tells the AI agent whether we wanted to send an email or an SMS. So I will give it context so it knows what to do. And then I said whether you actually need to send a Gmail or an SMS message, and call the correct tool. And actually create either a Gmail message that is specifically customized to be a Gmail, or a shorter text SMS message that is specifically customized to be an SMS message. And then I also need to say, based on this specific product description, what I will do is come over here, taking the product description schema, simply drag and drop this over here, so the AI agent also has knowledge of what our product is. And then I send it over to that specific person. I will simply come over here and click on the X button, and since we have configured everything that we needed, all we have to do is to actually run this AI agent and see if it actually works. So I will come over here and click on the execute tab, and you can see that it's currently running, and boom, as you can see, just finished executing, and it did look inside the Google Sheet for data, and it also does seem to send the email. So if we open this up, guys, we can see that we do in fact have an email sent. And if I actually go over to my email, guys, I can see we have a customized email message about the head smartband, which is the exact product that we actually told it to create a message for, basically informing that person of our product. And then over here, we simply sign off, but we do have this annoying message that was automatically sent from N8N. Now if you want to disable this, and I actually forgot to do it myself guys, you have to come over here to the options, click on the add option and click on append N8N attribution and simply make sure you turn this off so you don't actually have this annoying sent by N8N message at the bottom. So now it will not actually be visible, and the exact same will happen if we send an SMS message. Just the AI agent will look inside this Google Sheet, it would retrieve the information for that specific client and would actually send an SMS message to that specific person via Twilio over here. So that is how you can combine the power of YouWare and the power of N8N to create an amazing business intelligence dashboard like this with all of the different functions. And I think you saw how useful YouWare actually is, especially when we can just come over here in the MCP tools and simply click on each MCP tool and use it immediately without us having to build a massive workflow over to N8N in order for us to be able to access that specific tool. So again, I want to thank YouWare AI for sponsoring this video. The link for them will be in the description below, so definitely make sure you go and check them out. They also offer a free version, so you literally have nothing to lose by doing so, and you will actually see how useful this actually is and how much time it can actually save you every time you're building a pretty complex app like the one that we just built. But now YouTube thinks you're gonna enjoy this video in which I actually built an AI legal assistant app, so make sure you go and check that out next, and I will see you over there.